For this video, I'm going to show you how to work with layers and how to do some really basics editing when it comes to Photoshop. When I put things into Photoshop, which we do a lot with design, we want to use Place Embedded most of the time. So I'm going to go up here to File, Place Embedded, and go find the files I want to bring in. So I've got this river picture. I'm going to bring that one in. Bring this guy up a little bit so you can see. And when you place an image, it comes in the transform box. So if I go to scale it, I have to hold shift because I turned off that setting, or I turned on the legacy setting. So I can fill my background with it. So I'm gonna do that. I picked this one off of Flickr because it looked very Fox River bike trail to me. I'm gonna kind of line it up where I want to have it. And then when I'm all done, I can hit enter on my keyboard, or I can hit the check mark up here, and that applies the transformation. And then I'm also going to, oh, I won't do that yet. So now I've got my file in here. You'll see it's its own layer. So I've got two layers. I've got the background layer and I've got the embedded photo layer. When I'm here, I can do the eyeball to turn things on and off. I can lock things by having it selected and clicking the little lock icon right here. I can unlock the bottom one by clicking that right now. I'll just hit that little uncheck mark or unlock with the little button right there. You'll see that there's a lot in here with just the opacity, different things that you can kind of explore. And then what I want to do is I want to start messing with this image itself. So right above the layers windows, there are the properties and adjustment tabs. And adjustments is going to be where you spend a lot of time. Oh, that's cool. Like I didn't even know it did that. So when you hover over these presets, it'll give you like a kind of a preview of it. So I haven't clicked on anything. I'm just kind of hovering. But while you look at these, you can check these out. But I would, ask you to try to kind of go into these more. So these individual adjustments are going to be more showing you, giving you more control over it instead of the presets. So I like to look at it like a grid so I can see the icon. So I'm going to just click that guy. And I always start with levels. So I like to show everybody levels because this is how I learned Photoshop many moons ago. And when you look at this picture, this is a really nicely taken photograph. There's a nice range of dark to light. There's shadows, there's highlights, everything's really balanced. And you can see that reflected in the levels because this is your shadow, this little guy is your midtone, and this is your highlights. And you'll see that it's a pretty nice kind of mountain range. Other pictures, it might not have anything here and then spike up and then come back down. So when you open a photo, this is a nice place to check. So if I wanted to make it a little darker, I could bring this guy in a little bit more. If I wanted to boost the highlights, I can push this up a little bit more and then tinker with that mid-tone. So you'll see I'm already changing it quite a bit. And the minute I started messing with this, it created a new layer in my layers. So now this says a levels layer, it says levels 1. So if I'm like, oh, what did I just do to it? Well, I can click that little dude off and flip back and forth to see the difference. I'm going to actually make this hide so you don't have to get distracted by that. Now, the thing that gets kind of tricky is if I brought in another layer. So let's bring in another guy, my raccoon friend here. And if I put my raccoon, just so you can kind of see, over here, as I go back here and adjust these, oh, I lied, hold on. If it was above there, as I adjust these, it's going to do my raccoon too. So sometimes when you're working with layers, and it'll make more sense when you have a lot of layers down here, is if you want to just adjust one thing, part of it will be the order, so you can move around what the order of the layers is. Part of it, I'm going to come back up. I kind of liked it. Seemed a little more like intense. Go down, make it a little darker. If I had a lot of layers under here, or I wanted to make sure just the levels layer was just affecting this layer underneath, what I want to do is hold the Alt key on my keyboard, and I'm putting my mouse, see how it's right now, it's just these little handy hands. But when I hold the Alt key, it becomes this other symbol. And it's from going right between the line of the layers. And then if I do that, now this levels is only ever on here. So if for some reason, it won't make a lot of sense, but let's say I move him over and I have this guy over here. If I put him down here now, this isn't affecting my raccoon. If I didn't have it clipped down, I wonder how to unclip it. Well, if it was its own, it would be doing it to that guy again. So just be aware that if you're working with the layers or the adjustments and you're like, oh, I just did this, like, let's do this, like a color balance. No, let's go back. I don't want to do that one. Let's do, hey, there's my color balance. I'm going to delete this guy. So I've got my color balance and I start pushing the yellow. Do you see how it's doing it to the raccoon too? Because it's above both of those layers. If I just wanted to do it to the raccoon, I can come over here and move that, or I can also clip it down so that I'm just working with him now. So that's something you're going to notice as you get going with your layers and with your adjustment layers. There's a lot in here. If you hover, they tell you. So there's brightness and contrast. There's the levels we talked about. Curves gets at the exposure of the photo in similar ways as the exposure layer. Vibrance, we'll get into the color. Hue saturation is what color tone it's all in. So if I kind of push towards that direction of my hue, it's going to mix more of that in. I'm a sucker for desaturating things. So I like when things get like almost black and white. So I like to do that a lot. And this is your overall lightness and darkness of a picture. So there's a lot to explore. One of the cool things, I'm going to see how far back I can go. Oh, pretty far. Let's go back to those. Well, let's go back to just this one. So let's say I did go into my presets and I really liked that. Where's that cinematic one? Yeah, I like this guy. So if I put that on, it's called Creative Dark Fade. What it actually shows you is it shows you this folder that has the adjustment layers in here and what they did to them. So if I go here and I look, it shows me how it upped the contrast and lowered the brightness. If I go into the hue saturation, it could show you how it desaturated here, went to the blues. And so it's showing you kind of what's in that preset. So you can go in and still tinker with them. But I would love for you to see how to work with some of that without just doing the presets. In the next video, I'll talk to you about selections, which is where it gets really, really fun working with Photoshop.